wake up another day. I scratch my brain and rub sleep away. Feeling empty, life's a waste. Good God, to get out of this place. Don't have a head, no, don't have a car. I burned out, future rock and roll star. Heavyweight has arrived, pushing a broom, keep myself alive. You know you really think you can make it. Oh, you need is something to break it. But the tears in my mother's eyes, it's on the verge of a suicide. You know this madness just can't keep going on. Another hour turns into a day. Another week I feel I've been away. There's no mistaking it. I rack my brain but the music don't come. One day you will be done. Oh, there's no mistaking it. Under the stars, I look for shadows of some walks and parked cars, waiting for something to click in my head. I dream about the chicks who wanna take a bed. Well, not right now, please not yet. I gotta get my priorities set.
I saw intent. I can't keep standing here all by myself.
Here we are at the BC Sports Hall of Fame, and I'm excited to have with us Canadian singer-songwriter Blake Havard. He's here today to talk about his music career and what's next for him. Welcome to the show, Blake.
Hey, thank you for having me here.
And you have your guitar right behind you here.
Yeah, that's cool.
So tell me about when your passion began for music.
Well, I remember when my parents bought their first Radio Shack stereo, and they bought a whole bunch of records, and we had the K-Tel flipper. They put the records in. They go, that's a long time ago. There's young people probably wondering what I'm talking about right now. But they bought a whole bunch of records, all different styles. So it's sort of like, as soon as that happened, it was sort of the big, huge headphones and stuff like that. They sort of inspired me by having all this different types of music, and just that was one of the things that did it.
Yes, and so, I mean, did you come from a family of musicians?
Well, my granddad, I remember going to Saskatoon way back when, and my granddad could play the fiddle, keyboards. I can't remember what else he played, but I remember being in the dining room, and he had this old Vox Continental organ, and he was playing it through an old blackface. Guitar players will know what I'm talking about. It was an old 1966 blackface super reverb, and he was cranking boogie woogie on that, and it was just the room would shake. And I was just a kid then, so it sort of like that kind of blew my mind. I thought, ooh, that was powerful. So that sort of inspired me. And my mom liked to sing, my dad liked to dance, and I had an older brother that sort of paved the way a little bit for me because he had bands. So when I grew up, my older brother had bands. He had all the gear in the basement, and we all probably have brain damage from the sound. You know, the concrete, they would practice in a concrete basement, and it would come up through the floors. And I think, our neighbors were probably really glad when we moved from that neighborhood.
But your brother inspired you to.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It was he had, like a three-piece. He played guitar and sang. He had a, bass player and a drummer, these young guys. So it was just fun. They would be learning songs, they'd be writing songs. I'd just go down there and just sit and just watch them, and it was, turning the knobs, playing the bass. He got a new bass. It was just the whole culture around all that stuff was just so exciting. Going to the team dance and watching them play and stuff like that. And it was just, the whole thing was just,
It was magic.
it basically wrecked my life from that point on, in a good way.
So what does your brother think now?
What does my brother think now?
That you're a singer-songwriter?
Well, my brother is a singer-songwriter too, so I send him, if I do a new song, I'll send him one. He'll send me, stuff that he's working on, I mean, he was about 5 years older than me, so we always had that, major connection. So, as soon as if I haven't seen him for a while, he lives in a different town, so when I go there and, right away, he's, hey, you want to see my new guitar? hey, I got this new pedal, you gotta check it out. It's sort of like we don't even talk about our family, we just, we talk about guitars and music.
And friendly competition.
Yeah. Sort of, there's probably there's definitely a little bit in there, but we're both doing sort of different things, and I was always like, when he was doing stuff or he's got a new song or recording, I'm always like, I just hope he does the best. And I'm always like, when I see something or hear something that he does, I go, oh, that's really cool, right on. So, when I was a kid, he was sort of like, he was more of an inspiration than there was a competition. But I'm sure there's probably every once in a while the big brother little brother thing kicks in, I'm sure.
But it's healthy. It's healthy.
That's how it goes. Yeah.
Yes. So when was your first taste of your performance?
I remember when I used to play hockey when I was a kid growing up, and now that we're at the Sports Hall of Fame here, but I remember I was in midgets and I got cut from the big team. Ken Hitchcock cut me.
Oh.
He's like he won the Stanley Cup, put in the room and said, Blake, you'd be a good B hockey player. I went, okay, all right. So I went to the B thing and I thought, oh, this is no good. So I remember sitting on the bench going, oh, it's time to start my band. So, I was a teenager. So, so I remember getting, a couple of buddies together, and we first thing I had a drum machine, and my buddy played guitar, and we just kind of were learning how to play in time, and then we would add another guy, and I remember being in kind of a barn, just out in the country that the drummer had for us to rehearse, and it was the first time we kind of had a group of guys together in that room to play music, and I think we're doing Day Tripper or something like that, Under My Thumb by the Stones. And it was amazing. It was just like, ooh, this sounds great. It was like, so it's sort of like that feeling I had with those guys making this, I don't know, it probably didn't sound that great, but it sure felt great and sounded great to my ears at the time. So that amazing feeling is the same thing that kind of keeps me going now. And it's like, when I get together with a band or whatever, and, it's fun, it's exciting, it's sort of like, that's why we're doing this. It's not, we aren't mailing it in. It's that feeling that that I sort of like remember from when I was a kid, and it's sort of like that's how I gauge anything I do now and try to recreate that in some kind of way.
Yes, and Blake, tell us about your music journey, and now the song with "Wanted to Believe You."
Well, when I first moved out to Vancouver years ago. I'd go and do demos and stuff like that. I found out, where the studios are, and, I'd borrow money from my dad or my sister or whoever I could, sold a guitar that I shouldn't have sold. It would have been worth a lot of money now. And I just put it into doing my demos. And, and as I kept doing that kind of stuff, writing songs, I learned from each experience and, got better and better at least doing what I do, and then I'd go out and do showcase gigs. I remember at the Town Pump or the Commodore or whatever, and I'd have made friends with different musicians in town, and there's still guys that I played with 25 years ago that I play with now in town, and and so it was always like, okay, you would do something, you'd be really excited about it, but you'd learn a lot from that experience too, right? So. I've been doing that for 30 years.
Yes, and how you dealt with rejection, and it's not been an easy road.
No, it's sort of like I've got this song that I will probably put out at some point, but it's sort of like rejection is basically part of the job, and so it's sort of like being a little bit older now. I probably still don't know anything, but of course, but it's sort of like it's kind of like. For me, it's sort of like, okay, am I getting better? What am I going to do to make this thing better and make me happy? I don't care what anybody else thinks. Of course, it's nice if something happens. But if you're doing, for me, if I'm really happy about what I did, it motivates me to kind of push it out there. And so if I've kind of reached close to nailing it, so I feel good. I know that other people are going to like it too. So it's sort of, I'm just going to be myself and try and be the best that I can possibly be. You never, like they always say, you'll never, perfection is, you'll never reach that. But along the way, you hone your craft and you learn to go, hey, that's pretty good. So, rejection is just sort of like, try not to get too high or too low. and just kind of keep going forward. And it's the process that I love doing. So it's, you know.
That's wonderful. And tell us the song "Wanted to Believe You."
Tell you about that song?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's see here. I had, yeah, that song's from a little while ago. I moved for a little while. I moved out to Burnaby, and right on Deer Lake Park, and there's this big old kind of mansion that the mayor of Vancouver used to live in, and my friend had that place. So I had this humongous room, and I set up all my recording gear in there and just started doing demos. I just wrote songs and did demos. And that was one of the ones, that was one of the songs that I did, so I demoed up. And then eventually what I did is, a friend of mine saw a guy named Pete Droge, who's a singer-songwriter kind of based out of Seattle. And he was opening for Amy Mann at the Commodore, and my buddy saw him and said, "Blake, you gotta check this guy out. He's like you know." So I kind of heard of Pete Droge. He had that song from Dumb and Dumber, "If You Don't Love Me, I'm Gonna Kill Myself." And he did a song with Dave Stewart from the Rhythmics called "Beautiful Girl," another movie. And he's excellent singer-songwriter. And so anyway, I contacted him, and I went down there and saw him play, and then we ended up doing 4 tunes together. So we recorded it down on Vashon Island, and so we recorded the song there, and then I took it, did a few more little overdubs up here, and then Mike Fraser, who did like AC/DC and Zach Brown Band, he mixed it. And then I put it out there and pushed it. I was pretty proud of how it turned out.
When you said that you love me, wanted to believe you. I wanted to believe you with all my heart. And when you said we'd always be together, sold it like a melody. You brought the hook line to me, and now it's just a memory. And I said, don't believe everything you hear, and only half of what you see. But I wanted to believe you. Yes, I wanted to believe in you. And when the lights went out in your room, the darkness was concealing you. And when the sun came up too soon, your line stopped ringing true. And though my faith wasn't built to last, it was strong enough to drag me through. You had me blinded too. I guess I thought I needed you. And I kept lying to myself, thinking we could have carried on. And I hate myself having to give up now, but the fact is we don't belong. But I gotta move on. When you said you wished you never met me, I almost believed you. And when you said never get back together, I almost believed you. And I said, don't believe everything you hear, and only half of what you see. But I wanted to believe you. Yeah, I wanted to believe in you. And I kept lying to myself, thinking we could have carried on.
It got played on Sirius XM satellite radio, a whole bunch of other stations across North America, and it's kind of hard because it's not super country, it's not super rock, so it's sort of like I think if I was smart, I'd probably pick one of those areas, but it's what my sort of sound is. But it got picked up a little bit, and it did good. So it's sort of like it's sort of like paved the way for my new song that I'm doing, called No Justice, and I recorded that in my garage. And it was going to be a demo, but everyone said, "Hey man, this sounds great." And I thought, "Oh no, I have to spend more time on it. I'd still be working on it for like another 1,000 years if I had my way." But it turned out pretty good. And again, Mike Fraser mixed it over at the Armory Studios. It was all recorded and mixed in Kitsilano, BC, and it's getting played on Sirius XM satellite radio. And I'm going to do another push with it across radio, whoever can play it. And we're going to do a video soon, and that'll be ready for the folks, in the next little while.
Can't wait. And where do you get your inspiration to write?
Well, let's see here. Most of the time, I'll be walking down the street or cleaning my room or something like that, I don't really clean my room that often, I should say. So that's why it's mostly walking on the street. But I'll be walking down, and all of a sudden I'll just kind of like, I'll get a little idea in my head, and it's almost like meditation. So I'm walking down the street, and I might get a lyric that pops into my head, or a line or something like that, or I'll start doing a little bit of a beat. I'm not like a beatbox like those guys can, but I'll have my own little version of that. So people probably see me walking down the street and go, "Oh, there's that insane guy walking down the street." But so usually a line, like a seed, kind of gets planted in my head, and then I just sort of, as I walk around, it sort of kind of starts growing, and I start kind of, I might get a beat to it, or I might get the chorus. I might kind of like walk around getting the lyrics, and then what I'll eventually do is I'll go and do a demo of it. So I'll fire up, put a little drum beat down, put an acoustic guitar, and then kind of blab it out with what I got, and then I'll just kind of flesh it out and fine tune it, and hopefully we get close to something that sounds like something.
That's good. And then your songs are deep.
Oh, thank you.
And describe us about that.
Well, deep. I grew up listening to music that sort of had an emotional impact, whatever it was. If it was, I think about guys I grew up when I was a kid. Elton John. I used to put on my Sunday suit and wear my mom's big sunglasses and play on the coffee table and pretend I was Elton John and lip sync when I was a kid. So that music was pretty powerful, the production and everything. And David Bowie, even Dire Straits, like Martin Knopfler is like one of my favorites. A little bit later when I was teenager or whatever, but his music had a real emotional kind of element to it and lots of dynamics. So I'm not Bob Dylan. There's people that write lyrics that just blow my mind. It's sort of like, I'll never be able to do what they do, but I just try to keep things simple and just try to be myself. And usually when I'm writing something, it's about something that's sort of affecting, so it's sort of coming from here. So I don't know if that's deep or if it's just me trying just to be myself or whatever. So maybe because it's coming from that place, other people can relate to it in a certain way. I seldom just go, okay, I'm going to write a song about, let's write a song about the blue bench. Blue bench, you're out of my mind. Blue bench, you're on my behind. Actually, maybe that's the best song I ever wrote.
What do you, no, not at all, but what do you want people to get from your music?
Well, the first part is like, I want to, if I'm doing something, I want to feel it, and I hope that, the germ, or whatever you call it, that initiated that, emotion or thought that goes into that song comes from a real place. So hopefully that will come through in the song, and and also like over time I've torn apart songs that were some of my favorite artists. So I've tried to craft a song. I think I've gotten better at it. You're always learning, even writing songs, to get better and stuff like that. But I just hope that the song has like a little bit of emotion in there. Hope it kind of has a little bit of a driving beat, because that's when I listen to music, it was kind of, there was something that hit me here, and also something that just kind of got me rocking, wanting to dance and stuff like that. So that's an amazing feeling. So if I'm able to have that in my music and it makes people, feel it and want to dance a little bit, I think that's not too bad.
That's great. And what is next for you, Blake?
I'm going to be doing the video for No Justice. I got a pile of new songs that I'm going to record eventually. So I'm kind of putting the plans into that. I'm going to do a video coming up in the next few weeks for No Justice, and we're going to blast that out all over the internet and to whoever we can get to. So stay tuned for that, folks. And I'm just going to continue to just keep working on my craft. And I love going to live in Vancouver, so I love going to the beach and finding a kind of secluded park bench and just working on my guitar. So that's I'm going to keep doing that, and hopefully that's going to translate into what I'm doing with my recording and everything else I do. So new songs, new video, and live shows. So we'll put that out on the internet, and hopefully we'll see some of you folks out there soon.
Yes, and where can people find you?
Well, I'm on all the usual social media places. I got a bunch of tunes on Spotify, so you can go check that out. Let's see, Facebook, Instagram. I got about 2 billion pictures of this guitar on Instagram, like that, like that, like that. Or my beach shots, which I sit on the beach and I'm playing, let's get a shot of that. So I put the guitar on my lap and I get my camera and go like that. And I'm kind of blind, so it's sort of like, I don't even know what I shot. And those are usually the ones that that turn out the best. So Instagram, Facebook, who knows, everywhere. We're working on a new website, but just Google Blake Havard. You'll find him out there somewhere.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned, yeah.
And thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'd love for you to come back.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome.